Welcome to the channel, welcome to the channel, welcome to the channel, yeah. Hello, greetings and salutations. It is Kamaria, or Black Siren Creates. I have like 15 minutes before I get my kid. We're in the car loop, as usual. And if you didn't know, on Mondays on the channel, we do journaling. On Fridays, we talk about books. So I was going to do this as a part of like my monthly wrap up, but I realized what I want to talk about right now before all the thoughts leave my brain, it, would make the video of the wrap up too long, because in my wrap ups, I just want to talk about the books I read and try to maybe get you to read new authors, or so you guys can get inspired or put stuff on your TBR or whatever. So the separate issue that I wanted to talk about, so it is the 20th, so I still have like a weekish left in February, and I was doing a readathon, the Missy Elliott readathon by Shay with the Hobbies, and I did all the prompts and it was great. So that was fun. But I was doing a blackout anyway. Blackout, get it? Where I was reading all Black authors. So I personally, I read diversely all the time. Like, I'm very intentional with what I read and when I read it. And you should be all the time. So it's not like I'm just going to read Black in February and then you'll never see me read a Black book again. That's not how I roll. I just really wanted to just focus on Black authors just for my own kind of peace of mind and just to be intentional. But I was running across some issues, and I just wanted to talk about them real quick because they were bothering me. So like I said, I read a lot of Black authors anyway. It's not like I was running out of books to read. But also I was not running out, but here's my issue with certain books that get published. So we're talking about traditionally published books, which if you look at the statistics, most publishing houses are publishing what they think is going to sell, what they think is popular, what they think is going to, make money. And publishing houses are still traditionally white. It's like 97% or something crazy. And the other 3% is, Black, Asian, Indigenous, all that. So if you think about, it used to be way worse, and you think that, it was getting better, but realistically, it's not really. And I was going to my library, and out of a shelf of all like the new releases, there's probably like 100 books there that have been published in the last 3 months, and only a handful were Black and Asian or, not white. And so you still see this huge disparity in what is getting picked, what is getting published. And that's just the reality. And I feel like in these times we live in, it's only going to kind of get worse. And what I was picking up to read, a lot of it, even if it was written by a Black person, what I saw kind of repeated a lot was the main character, they would be described as Black, like Black, dark skin, hair, whatever. But if the author didn't tell me that the character was Black, there was nothing that made that character black. And a lot of times you find this in like other books written by non-black people, where like the side character will be black, but you wouldn't know. They would just be thrown in there to make sure, oh, hey, we need the, to be diverse or whatever. But it's really interesting that the trend I was seeing was even by black authors now. And a lot of this was like literary fiction, which I normally don't even like to read, or contemporary fiction. It's not really my bag. I like fantasy. I like romance kind of thing. But, I was trying to read all black and kind of go outside of my comfort zone or whatever. But the problem I was finding is like the characterization in these books wasn't black. It was watered down for the masses of like, okay, we need to make this palatable for everyone. We can't have too much diversity in here. We can't have too much culture in here, or it's not going to get picked up by the predominantly white demographic, right? So that kind of pissed me off, and I would stop reading. I would just DNF it, because I'm like, okay, there is literally, this is just a regular book anybody could have written, and they just kind of sanitized this character to make it more digestible for other people. And that kind of just pissed me off, because it's like, what's the point of making the character black if there's nothing about that character that's black? Because we have a culture. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I feel like a lot of what publishers will want to pick up is just based off trauma and pain. And as much as those stories are important, how many books can we have about slavery? About, trying to get to freedom, and, all the generational trauma that we deal with all the time. Does it always have to be some get out type shit? Like I said, I'm not saying that those stories aren't important, because they are. And I do feel like a lot of black people's lived experience is so deeply entrenched in the generational trauma. But that's not all we are, right? So like, black people aren't just this monolith of overcoming slavery, or overcoming, civil rights, or, overcoming discrimination. We, black culture, black people, are more than just their pain and the trauma of what it is to be black. I just wish that there was more of a balance, right? So I wish we still had those stories, but also, hey, I'm just a girl falling in love with a boy. I'm just a girl trying to figure out my life. I just like what we get in other stories, right? So stories written by, white people, or like, why can't we just have a character doing regular things who happens to be black, and still have all like the cultural blackness, but hey, I'm just trying to figure stuff out, or I'm a mess and I'm just trying to figure out what I'm gonna do with my life, or why can't we have more, black rom-coms that are just rom-coms without, profiting and exploiting black trauma? Because there's only so many of those books I can read before I just get into the dark place. Because it's like, I live with microaggressions and stuff every day. Like, there's only so much of generational trauma and pain that I can read. So sometimes I will actively avoid books, even if they're good, if it's set in the Civil War, or, I there's only so many of those I can read. I want more fantasy with black people. I want more rom-coms with black people. I want more messy coming of age. I'm 30 and still don't know what the heck I'm doing, but we're black. So why does publishing only think that those stories are marketable? I read a lot of indie. I read a lot of, to try to find those stories that have the rich, deep black culture without only focusing on the painful bits. Because blackness and the black people is more than just the painful bits. And I'm not saying we just don't have those stories. Again, let me reiterate. I just want more of a balance than just, oh, hey, this is, the pain, the trauma, there's all the stuff that's been done. I'll read a nonfiction about all that horrible crap, but like, why can't I have more fantasy with black people? I just want more of a balance, and and this might be a big ask, to have more of a balance and more of in traditional publishing, them realizing that the other stories are just as good, just the regular ones, of black people doing regular crap, but still being black. Not the watered down version, so it's more digestible, but let's be blackety black black. I'm black. I'm black black. I'm blackety black. Black black black. But doing regular shit that doesn't have to deal with, racism or slavery or any of that, because we are more. We are more than that. And I think that I want to see a world in books that reflects all facets of life, not just one part. It's an important part, but that's not all we are. And so that's kind of what I saw as, I was trying to read Black all month, and how frustrated I was getting because I couldn't find stuff that I liked or wanted in the genres that I wanted. And then a lot of the books I picked up were either super watered down or, it's chicken with no seasoning. Okay. It's like, you gave me fried chicken, but I got no seasoning. Like, no, And I see it more and more lately in the books that I've been trying to pick up and that have been published in the last 3 or 4 months, that either they're still just exploiting black pain, or they're kind of watered down, more palatable versions of what we already get from everybody else. And I have a feeling, if I can predict the future and seeing the patterns, it's only going to get worse from here. And it's not even necessarily these authors' fault, because I'm sure a lot of these authors are coming with a lot of roadblocks of what, what the publishing company wants the book to be like and stuff. And I'm sure there's a lot of pressure. It's like, okay, well, I want to get published, so I have to kind of sell my soul a little bit. So it's not just a black and white. It's not just a kind of black and white issue. I know there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but as a reader who likes to read diversely, I can see certain things happening, and it just makes me kind of sad. But hopefully a lot of that made sense, and stay tuned for the actual, wrap up coming next week. But that's all I have for you today, guys.